Chapter 5: Meaningful Communication. After years of struggling, it all began to make sense to Afnu. The words Mimi had spoken to him in his dreams provided the key that unlocked the door to effective interaction with her. Afnu realized that by observing Mimi and then joining her and imitating her, as they had done with the bird, he and Tutor could capture her attention and engage her. And from that day, they observed her closely, copying what she said and did. At first, Mimi did not acknowledge their efforts, and Afnu feared he had been wrong about how to best communicate with her. But they persisted, and gradually, things changed for the better. They began by developing Mimi's eye contact. This proved to be difficult at first, because she did not readily divert her gaze from what she was focusing on. She would not respond to verbal commands or sounds unless they interested or disturbed her. So Tutor and Afnu identified the sounds, activities, and foods that Mimi enjoyed and used them to interact with her. They sat next to her and copied what she did. Sometimes this would go on for hours without any response. On other occasions, Mimi would pause for a moment and cast a quick glance at what her parents were doing. Gradually, this turned into a taken turns game. Mimi would grab one of them by the arm and lead them to a place where she wanted to play. The next challenge was to establish verbal communication. Mimi would babble while performing her activities, and they would copy her. Gradually, this enabled them to engage in meaningful communication exchanges with her. Once she had got used to interacting in this way, they started to introduce real words which Mimi repeated. After a great deal of patience and perseverance, Afnu and Tutor could have limited verbal dialogue with her. Mimi's turn. Mummy's turn. Daddy's turn. What do you want? Say, I want. To their delight, Mimi started to use words to prompt actions. Although she could not say, I want something, she would come to Tutor and Afnu and say, what do you want? Which meant the same thing to her. When they repeated after her, she would then say what she wanted. One of Mimi's favorite activities was called What's in the Chest. The game would start with Tutor shouting, Mimi, chest time! Mimi would immediately sit in front of Tutor with a big smile on her face and clap her hands. Tutor would say, what's in the chest? Mimi would smile and watch attentively. Tutor would open the old chest they had found on H. and Maria and display an item. It's a shell, she would say. Mimi would repeat, shell. What's in the chest? Tutor would ask again. Mimi would look at her with excitement. It's a ladybird, Tutor would say. Ladybird, Mimi would repeat. To teach Mimi how to express that she wanted the game to continue, Tutor would pause for a moment and wait for Mimi to ask for more. She told her to say more so she could do this. Mimi would look her in the eye and after a while say more. Tutor would then produce another item. Tutor also taught Mimi emotions. She would pull a face and ask, is Mummy sad or happy? Mimi would respond, sad or happy, depending on the face Tutor pulled. Tutor would also sit on the tree with Mimi and point at various animals and ask if they were sad, happy, or angry. Mimi would watch and listen attentively and then repeat Tutor's observations. Afnu liked to watch them from a distance. Seeing Mimi learn a new word or activity filled him with joy. Tutor's perseverance and tireless efforts brought tears to his eyes. Through these observations, he came to the heartwarming conclusion that there was not an obstacle in life that a mother's love could not overcome.